Good morning and welcome to the Community Review. I'm Josefa Salinas, your host. She's been here before. In fact, she's been on my show for, over a decade. More than that, talking about all kinds of issues that affect the community because she is an advocate for the community and her current projects that she's been working on now for a few years. We've been right there as these projects have launched, as these passions have launched, and just to support her and her organization. And she's with us again this morning. It's Shirin Senegal, the founder and head of Ronnie's House Foundation. Good morning, Shirin.
Good morning, Josefa. It's so wonderful to be with you again.
It is so wonderful to be here with you and just watch you as you maneuver in these communities doing all these amazing things from we're fighting for advocacy for housing rights and families getting the keys to their homes to gun violence and trying to work through gun violence in various cities, and your work with community leaders, with elected officials, is to be commended because that's a hard balance to find there between, personal passions and then dealing with elected officials.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it requires a lot of meditation and prayer for sure.
Yeah, absolutely it does. So Ronnie's House, talk to me about why you founded Ronnie's House and the kinds of things that you guys are doing now, because you're definitely groundbreaking programs and just amazing things in the community. So tell us all about it.
Thank you so much, Josefa, and thank you for always being there on the journey of advocacy because we really need the media's voices to shine light on the good, the bad, and all of it in between. So thank you for that. I started Ronnie's House after I lost my husband to gun violence in 2016. It was a very hard journey for me to try to figure out some type of purpose that I needed to carry on for him in order for me to really deal with the pain. It's a very tough place to be when you face gun violence, but there really isn't the support out there for you as a victim because many people shy away from or don't know how to support individuals that have been through gun violence. And so it can get to be a very lonely place, and then we retreat as victims of gun violence, and so it can make it a very tough situation. And for me, it was really, how do I round these edges and continue this man's work? And my husband went through the foster care system. He faced many years in prison. And at the age of 29, he fought for himself in a 3-strikes case in the LA Men's Central Jail, and it was a hung jury. After he was released in his 30s, because he still had to serve another sentence, he turned his life around after many years. He became an advocate to ensure that his brothers and sisters coming out of prison had resources, support, and education. He became a businessman and an author, and he really wanted to make a difference to decrease the recidivism that we see in California, which means people going back and forth to prison. And it hovers right now around 50 to 70% in California. So that's how Ronnie's House began. It really began as a gift to my husband and to continue his legacy, and selfishly to try to deal with this pain.
Now, when we're talking about recidivism, how many people are released from prison every year? And you said it's 50 to 70% end up going back. So how many are actually released?
Over 600,000 people are released every year. 1 in 3 Americans have been involved in the justice system. So the numbers are high.
Now, what kind of programs are there in prison, or do they even have programs to help prepare people for getting out? Or is it just a matter of, hey, your time's up, bye, see you?
It's a great question, and it's a concern for many of us as advocates who are trying to change the policy. California, for example, took a lot of its rehabilitation programs out of the prisons, citing that they were rewarding individuals for giving them education and rehabilitation. So from prison to prison, there are different programs, but nothing that is sufficient enough to actually rehabilitate someone that you just put in cages. I understand that people make mistakes, but I think if we're measured by our mistakes, it would be a tough tough world to navigate because we've all made them, whether they've been legal or illegal or whatever that looks like. And currently, right now, the support system behind prison walls is obviously not doing its job when so many go back to prison. Rehabilitation needs to begin the day someone walks into a prison, period. Not a day after, it should be the day of, whether it's the reconciliation process, the healing process, the rebuilding process, because you've got someone locked up for years and then you throw them out into the world and you say, here's a couple of $100 and a few organizations that you can reach and you're on your own. And many people say, well, there's families. No, those that don't have families have the struggle. Those that have families, oftentimes to rebuild the bridge of trust takes time. And many families are not open and embracing those who have made mistakes because they're afraid that they're going to hurt them in the process. And that's really also a part of why it's important to rehabilitate prior to release when we can, so that we can rebuild those relationships and help individuals identify the resources that they can build on.
Yeah, I was speaking with Dr. Diana Engel about the level of foster care kids that end up in prison. And it was astonishing to me how many end up in prison that are in the foster care system, that never find homes and end up in the prison system. And so I think
Yes.
that and we're also dealing with a lot of mental health issues that aren't properly being addressed. Is this what you're seeing as well?
Yes, so much. The foster care system is definitely a pathway into prison. You have 60% more of a chance of going into prison, much higher chance of a sex trafficking, foster care kids becoming sex trafficking victims. That aging out group, that 18 to 24, is very, very vulnerable. I mean, a child who grows up with two parents being thrown out into the world at 18 would have a tough time making it, let alone a foster care child who's dealt with trauma and neglect and abandonment, and not in any way saying that foster care families are not good, because there are many that are wonderful, but foster care system is what it is. As for mental health issue behind bars and in our communities is rampant. It is the trauma that exists in communities, generational trauma, from the violence, from the poverty and the inequity, it carries on, because 50-some% of individuals in the day-to-day gun violence that kill each other know each other. So that's telling me, and should be telling all of us, that there are triggers going on that we need to deal with. Maybe they don't look like severe mental health cases where we see it physically, but they're manifesting in the bodies, in the lives of many men and women of color. And so it's reactional, and it's not having the tools to be able to deal with certain conflict, certain situations. So in terms of mental health, behind bars right now, it's a disgrace. The lack of support for our brothers and sisters and the people that are diagnosed with mental health have far more of a chance in prison of being reprimanded for issues and being put into solitary confinement. Now imagine somebody's already dealing with mental health issues, and now you want to put them into solitary confinement. That's making the situation worse. It's not making it better. And the support in terms of mental health support, there's something in the California prisons. Let's say I'm ready to receive my support, and I'm a week away from it. I've been waiting for 2 months because they have a certain time frame to get you that support. If you're moved to another prison, that clock starts over again. There is such a desperate need for mental health from behind bars to the outside. And when individuals are coming out, Josefa, we cannot expect that there is not more trauma, depression, navigating society, sounds, crowds. There are so many things that affect our brothers and sisters, but they have to hurry up and get out, find a job, find a home, get secure. Who's thinking about their mental health when they have to put food on the table? right? Who's thinking I'm going to need to unpack this trauma? And so it's important for us to create safe spaces and create tools that can take the stigma off and again, make sure that mental health support begins prior to release. It's just so important to create a plan of rehabilitation where mental health and healing is at the core.
Oh, absolutely, and it's part of what I think you're working and advocating for so hard. I've seen you fight for change in legislation, change in the procedural way on a local level that these things are dealt with. Talk to me about what you think are some of the changes that need to happen right now to help while people are in prison or even before they get there in our schools.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm really grateful to have been doing this work over the past, year and a half to 2 years in terms of this particular project. But reentry work I've done for many years, and it was through a great initiative called Transforming LA with the Department of Mental Health. And there's 29 of our agencies all working to bring mental health services to our communities. Amazing agencies in your area. And through our programs, we were tasked with delivering mental health support in the way that we felt our community would receive it. And so I'm so grateful for this opportunity because it's really allowed me to dig in and to see the need and to build solutions around it. I think the first thing that we need is that we need to recognize and pass policy or release funds from certain places. Like, for example, the First Step Act had funding tied to it for bringing back programming behind bars. But a lot of the money, when I read last, is yet gone to where it's supposed to get to. So there are some times we have to change policy, and other times we have to make sure that policyholders are accountable for the changes they made so we could see the funds go in. There was an audit done a few years ago by the California auditor that showed the vulnerabilities in our prison systems. We need to ensure more education, and I'm seeing that creeping back up again. I know USC has teamed up with the prison system to bring bachelor degree programs back in certain places. So we need to increase mental health support. We also need to take off right now you have to pay a copay in prison to see someone for medical reasons. Now, people are coming out of prison with not only mental health issues, but high levels of diabetes, high blood pressure, kidney disease, because the health system behind bars is horrible. And the copays, although small, remember, they're not comparative to the few pennies that they make per hour. So we need to make sure that healthcare is more accessible. We need to make sure that trade programs are in our prisons so that individuals have a trade when they come out that don't want a degree. We need to ensure that education is put into our prisons. And we also need to make sure that family ties and connectivity to family is a priority. Because right now, as it stands, the federal prisons give individuals that are in there a certain amount of time to even be able to talk on the phone or communicate with their families. During COVID, many did not see their families, and there was no alternatives to be able to see them. Some integrated video, but that was rare. The mothers of children need to be able to read to their kids. So I want to see advancement in how we use technology to be able to keep mothers connected to their children. When we keep that connectivity in place, that child is less likely to go to prison. That child is more likely to have a healthier path. And so for us to be able to slow down recidivism and, like you said, cut it off before, the schools right now and the kids in high school are demanding and desperate for mental health support. We have to infuse that into our schools, more mentorship into our schools. Our schools, if you look at them, are incubators that we as communities can adopt and give them love and, the mental health support they need and jobs in our communities. It really is time for us to go back to the village mentality of helping raise our kids and embracing those who make mistakes so that they're a part of the solutions and that we're not, fighting them thinking they're going to come disturb our community or take away from our community.
Well, all of this sounds so incredibly amazing. I want to talk more about the Transforming LA initiative that you've been a part of for the past year, and also talk about your plans, the incredible website that you've launched, and your summit coming up. So you stick around with us. We'll be right back with more with Shirin Senegal and Ronnie's House and how we're transforming our communities together, one person at a time. Welcome back to the Community Review. I'm Josefa Salinas, your host. This morning we have with us Shirin Senegal from Ronnie's House, actively involved in changing lives one person, one community at a time. She has been on the show many times, and she's got some exciting stuff to tell us about now. Shirin, go over again this Transforming LA initiative that covers many counties throughout Southern California, and how Ronnie's House became involved, and then how you're moving forward with what you've learned from all the other groups being involved in Transforming LA, and then what your steps are with Ronnie's House to move forward.
Absolutely. Transforming LA was spearheaded by Supervisor Janice Hahn and supported by the rest of the supervisors. And the goal for the Transforming LA was to support community-based organizations in delivering mental health services, support, and wraparound services for their communities. As we know, oftentimes there is a disconnect between resources and communities because the messengers are not from the community. And so with the vision that Supervisor Hahn had, it's been an incredible initiative that put 29 organizations. We applied and we wanted to put our resources in our justice-impacted community because resources are very tough to get in that area. And so we developed our plan around delivering services, education directly to our justice impacted. The sort of 18-month program put us through a cohort where we were a part of different workshops, learning how to scale our organizations and learning about how to go after funding to grow the organization, technical direction, and it was just really a great initiative to get us in a stronger position to launch what we've launched as well as continue the work. Now, what came out of it, which is so exciting, is that our agencies are all coming together and creating and have created a cohort so that we can work collectively as all 29 agencies to continue healing LA and surrounding counties with our services, mental health and wraparound services. So it really was an incredible initiative that we're wrapping up in the next 60 days that will continue and that we're hoping we can continue the partnership with the Department of Health and the county to be able to grow it.
That's so amazing, and it's so needed. I remember when you invited me last year to teach. We had high school students because everybody was online, so we were teaching. And just the enthusiasm and the passion that these kids had and their desire to have a voice was so incredibly amazing. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of that and for the work that you did with the high school kids because it was really incredible. Now, how do you see yourself and Ronnie's House moving forward? Now, I know you've got some really incredible things about decreasing recidivism. Tell me all about your plans and your new website you're launching.
You know, what's great is that we really used our funding to be able to invest in something that can continue long after the grant is closed. And so last year we did have a Reentry Summit, our first annual Resiliency and Healing Summit, and we had over 100 people attend. We will be having the second annual summit April 28th and 29th, and we're really excited that the Port of Long Beach is one of our sponsors. And boy, has the Port of Long Beach been on the news, right, the last few months.
Right.
With, but what I'm really grateful for is that Port of Long Beach and others are seeing the importance of investing back into our reentry community. And that summit will be 2 days, that one day will be focused on our service providers and empowering them that support our reentry community. They'll learn how to access funding to grow their own organizations. We'll talk about coming together to make sure that mental health is delivered and reimagined for our justice-impacted community. We will discuss how to create living wages, whether that's through entrepreneurship, whether it's through trade, union jobs, whatever that looks like, so that we're not just throwing, any type of jobs at individuals hoping they can stay out of prison. And then the second day is going to be focused on mental health and entrepreneurship for our justice-impacted community. So this year our theme is economics and mental health, and I'm very excited about that. If you do want to attend the summit, you can log on to reentrykeys.com. That's Reentry Keys, KEYS.com, which brings me to Reentry Keys. Now, Josefa, how many sleepless nights I've had.
I do.
It's been 9 months that we've worked on this. So solutions, right? We constantly need to stay in a state of solutions. And so when I saw the lack of resources getting to people, individuals not knowing how to navigate, who do I go to? Do I go to Ronnie's house? Do I go to Josefa? But none of us have everything in individual needs. And one of the most important things is to be able to create a network of resources and information to deliver, whether it's to our reentry community, whether it's to our youth. And so we're excited to launch reentrykeys.com, which is a website that has 48 right now, as accounting 4,800 resources, almost 5,000 resources of transitional housing, jobs, education, food pantries, mental health support, substance abuse support. And we also have gathered information so that it's culturally focused, right? So mental health support for our African American community, our Latinx community, our Muslim community. Refugees deal with a whole other, there are people in prison that might be refugees or undocumented. So we have support across the board for individuals in different languages, as well as a lot of resources around what you and I talked about, which is our aging out youth between the ages of 24. And so we have a lot of resources there, from housing to clothing, health care, mental health. The website also integrates podcasts, which we're really excited about, so that people that have been incarcerated are talking, telling their stories. There are blogs where people are writing to empower individuals, whether it's on credit, on the things that you need to get ready before release or after release. We give you all the information to secure your ID, your passport, your social security number, birth certificates. It helps you create a roadmap when you first sign up on the things that you need, and then the resources are there for you to tap into. Now, if you cannot access a resource, can't find a resource, we set up a 24-hour-a-day phone line that's been up now for almost 2 years, and you can reach that number at 855-530-KEYS. That's 855-530-KEYS. So I'm really excited about this website. Its service providers can come on there and join. Many of their information is on there. If you're joining, you can claim your profile, you can network, you can upload videos, jobs, events. It really is an incredible hub that we created so that individuals have support, both from community service providers as well as different government agencies that are providing resources. Now, the resources are all over LA County, and we are growing it as we go. So right now we've hit LA County. We'll expand into San Bernardino and start to expand that way into Ventura County, and then eventually go all across California, and then hopefully nationally, because we've already had a lot of interest on expanding the resources to different regions. And the great thing about the site is that many individuals coming out of prison, they'll get a booklet, they'll get a piece of paper, and the phone numbers are not working anymore, or the agency shut down. This really allows us to constantly update in real time and always add new information, education, empowerment. So we hope that this will be one of the tools that we can use and individuals can use to help them navigate their comeback.
Absolutely. And I've been fortunate to see the website before it actually, launches. And just the fact that you have almost 5,000 resources there is just so amazing. And I'm hoping that if there's probation officers out there, parole officers out there, teachers out there in the audience that are listening now, use this website as a resource. It helps
Yes.
make your job so much easier. If you're a parole officer, you want your client to do well so that you don't have to fill out all those paperwork. You'd like to just fill out the paperwork that they're doing well, because the one that they're not doing well takes so much more time. So use these kind of websites to direct your clients to. If you've got, there are kids who are on probation that are, in school trying to get themselves back on their feet again. These resources are here to help, and you've got to use them, because this is just phenomenal what you have put together to have all of these different resources in one location. It just makes it so much easier for the individual to navigate, for people trying to help the individuals, whether there's mental health professionals out there looking for some place to send their clients for the other things that they need. This is it. Give them that website again.
www.reentrykeys.com. That's reentry. So that's REENTRY keys, KEYS.com. And absolutely, the probation departments that we've talked to, they've been so supportive. And the probation department in Long Beach has really been, on top of things and bringing community together and resources together. So this is a great tool for probation departments. Now, I am hoping that we can also get the site to individuals that are incarcerated, and we're working on that, because the truth is, if we can get it behind bars and it could still meet whatever requirements they need to secure things, then individuals can begin their plan prior to release, because we've put most of the agencies that give you support prior to release. We've put different education resources that individuals can begin training. We have a way for them to start creating their blueprint to their comeback. And so if we can do that, then we can really be a part of the change before they get released. I'm so adamant about that. Unfortunately, we don't have the funding right now to be able to do all this work behind bars. And so we're hoping that with bringing all these agencies together and everyone's working together, then we can, move things further that way with the collaboration.
Oh, absolutely. And I can't imagine anyone that wouldn't want to be a part of this incredible reentrykeys.com, reentrykeys.com. Over 5,000 resources available to help people coming out of the prison system, the probation system, the youth camps, whatever it is, to get back on their feet. Because, I have family members who've been to prison, and one of the things that I noticed the most about these individuals when they came out, they had the desire to do better, but the mental health and the depression issues and the source of what took them to prison in the first place was never dealt with.
Right.
And so they keep failing because the core issue of what took them to prison in the first place has never been dealt with. And I love the mental health aspect that you have on this, because at the core of any of our problems, why do our marriages fail? Why do we fail in school? Why do we fail at a project that we've started? Why do we fail at a goal that we've had? Because there's a reason, especially if you keep failing. So you have to get at the core of why you're failing. And these are some of the things that I think that I see happening with Ronnie's house, is you're really trying to get to the core of what has led the person to where they're at in the first place. Because if you don't know how you got there, then you're definitely going back.
Absolutely. The reason I'm so driven, for mental health, one, I am an immigrant, I am a refugee, and I think all of my life I've dealt with some type of depression inside, right? But we didn't have the option to hide under a blanket, right? And I think people sometimes think that's what depression is, right? But we've seen some recent situations where beautiful lives have been lost from suicide for something called functioning depression, right? Where individuals are still moving, and doing and accomplishing, but on the inside they're hurting deeply, which means at any time that could be a set off, a trigger of some kind, whether it's suicidal, whether it's a fight that ends up a certain way, whatever that looks like. And I know that my husband, although he became a success and an author and a businessman, he suffered from a lot of trauma, from abuse to home, to the foster care, to the prisons. But the stigma of mental health is not easy to deal with in many communities. That's the last thing our communities, especially our communities of color, minority communities, the last thing they're doing is seeking mental health, because we've constantly been in a state of survival of some kind. And so mental health is not the first thing we grab, right? And many of us are raised to prey on it, and we should prey on it. But we need support, and we have to have grace on ourselves. I really needed to have grace on myself. I experienced my husband's death. That was a heavy trauma, as you know, because you were very supportive from the beginning through my journey. But when we don't talk about it and we don't understand it, we think we are going crazy. We think it's us. We think whatever we're manifesting is just on this island of ours in our mind. And the truth is, I found out as a victim of and survivor of gun violence is that the things that I felt, the way that I retreated, the things that triggered me were normal. And so when you know that what you're dealing with is a part of your, what you have faced, that trauma, then you have more grace on yourself and you're willing to begin the work and figure out, how do I navigate this and how do I heal myself? Or else whatever you build is on quicksand, and at any time it can come tumbling down. And so for the brothers and sisters coming out of prison that are out, and your families, like you have a safe zone and a space in Ronnie's house. And of the agencies we connect you with, you will have that safe space and support, because we really were founded on the legacy of Ronnie, who has experienced all of this and who fought really hard to create that safety for individuals.
And you're doing it so well. Again, it's reentrykeys.com, reentrykeys.com. You're going to find 5,000 resources there, everything from housing and jobs and school and mental health and community, and hearing from other individuals who have gone through possibly what you're going through. Because I know sometimes you want to talk to somebody, or you want to hear somebody talking about it that's actually been through it, because you're saying to yourself, okay, well, what can that person tell me about cancer treatment if they've never had it? What can that person tell me about, being in prison if they've never been there? So having those kind of podcasts and stories and conversations and safe places to come to have those conversations is what you've always been about, and what Ronnie's house is about. And now Reentry Keys is the location. And again, the phone number, if you need help, 855-530-KEYS, 855-530-KEYS, and that's 855-530-5397. Now, I know April is Reentry Month, and there's all kinds of plans for Reentry Month, but your big summit is going to happen in April. So tell me again about the summit, where people can go for information, and what they can hope to find at this summit, and how to become involved. Maybe they're a provider that maybe wants to help provide something.
Yes, absolutely. It will be April 28th and 29th. It's virtual for the first 2 days, and depending on what happens with COVID, we may add a third day that's in person, but those 2 days are locked in, and it is sponsored by the Port of Long Beach, and it is 2 days of service providers meeting one day and getting the support on how they can fund their reentry work, the different avenues of funding available to them, how they can scale their organizations to do the work. We're going to work together with service providers to come up with a collective plan to reach more of our communities with mental health support. And so that'll be the first day, as well as we will discuss as service providers how we create livable wages, such as entrepreneurship or gig work or trade jobs or union jobs. And so that's our first day. Our second day is focused on our justice impacted guests, and that day focuses on mental health as well as entrepreneurship and financial literacy programs, how to build your credit, how to buy a home, that type of stuff, so that individuals can really plan long term. And in order to join us, just log on to reentrykeys.com and you'll see a banner on the website that'll direct you to the sign-up sheet. We're really excited about the summit. It's the second one. And last year, just some of the most amazing service providers, individuals, as well as leaders like Congresswoman Nanette Barragan, Assemblyman Mike Gibson were present and were very supportive in listening to our justice-impacted individuals and in working with us to advance policy. So what came out of last year was really incredible. Some individuals have been, today one of them, Xavier, takes his trucking license test, right? So there's so many great stories of people getting into programs as well, because after the summit, we work with you for the next 12 months to get you into programs, housing, training. So after the individuals are done with that day, we're able to assess from their questionnaire what their needs are, and then our reentry coaches work with them to ensure that whatever they want to achieve, that they can do it in those next 12 months. So we're really excited about the 2-day summit and hope that, you can join us out there. It's no cost to you whatsoever. It just come with an open mind and a collaborative heart.
And that's what it's all about. That's what you have always been about. That's what Ronnie's House is about. And that's why I am so incredibly honored to support, to be a part of, and offer my services in any way to help you move all of this forward. Because, I'm as passionate about it, and would just kudos to you for your ability to go to elected officials, tell them what the problem is, bring the people from the community, and find a way for everybody to be in the same place talking about it. You do an amazing job. Again, it's reentrykeys.com if you want to know more about the summit towards the end of April. April is Reentry Month, so we might have you back maybe at the beginning of April just to remind everybody about the summit. But Shirin, thank you for what you do. Reentrykeys.com, a resource for reentry for our men and women coming out of the prison system, or our younger people coming out of the camps and the youth authority, places like that. Utilize these resources. There is help available, especially there is mental health resources. Find the root of your problem. What took you to the thing that brought you down? Let's figure that out so that you don't make that mistake again. And Ronnie's House, reentrykeys.com is the place to start. Shirin, thanks for being with us again. I just love you and love the work that you do, and you got a home right here anytime.
Thank you so much, sis, for your support. I really appreciate you. And I think together we can really work to help heal each other as a community.
Go on ahead and grab that second cup of coffee, second mimosa, second cerveza, whatever it is you need to get you through this morning. Or maybe you're just on the first cup. There's a whole lot more coming up. You go ahead and get what you need to get and come on back.